But joining us right now is three-time Super Bowl champ Mark Schlereth back here in his usual spot. Good to see you, Mark Schlereth. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. Thank you, Rich. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. So many different ways to go about our chat, but let's start with the play that essentially broke the Broncos back, which was the Drake May keeper, and for a first down that essentially sent the Patriots to the Super Bowl, Mark. And we're learning that May and Josh McDaniels dialed up the play themselves and didn't tell the offensive line to help sell it better. Has that ever happened to you, Mark?
Yeah, I'll going all the way back to my Idaho days. I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
University of Idaho.
Yes, sir.
Under Dennis Erickson, we used to do it all the time. We would run a run pass option. We would call the run play. And then if you had a slot receiver, because we were always in 3 wide sets, if you had a slot receiver that was uncovered and somebody was 12 yards off him, the quarterback had the free-for-all or the right just to throw it over there. And so you'd be into like a handoff to the right, we call it 34 dive or whatever it was. And all of a sudden, the linebacker that you're comboing up to, you're like, oh, here I come. And all of a sudden, he just takes off and goes the opposite way because the quarterback threw it out there. So it's great that the offensive line didn't know, because they're going to execute that play and make it look like a run. And that will effectively hold the outside edge. And that was Jonah Ellis out there, held the edge there, and he barely made that first down. But if you don't sell that, Ellis gets to him and stops it before the first down, and the Broncos get the ball back and then probably go 3 and out. Oh, wait, did I say that?
Nice.
The Broncos get the ball back and still don't score. So, but the bottom line is it's a great execution, great plan by both Josh McDaniels and Drake May. And I think it's the right way to go. Don't tell anybody, man. This is what we're doing, because it's going to affect the defense that much more.
All right, so then let's get to the tongue-in-cheek portion of your commentary about the Broncos offense and what you thought of the day in total for Denver.
So I went back through it, Rich, and you've got 18 or 17 games in the regular season. You got a playoff game, and then you get to the AFC Championship. And I get it that it's your backup quarterback, but the number of mistakes, just the blocking assignment mistakes, and just the lack of execution as an offense. And Sean Payton, I agree with him. He came out and said, "Hey, man, I'm not worried about our quarterback. I'm not worried about Jarrett Stidham as much as I am worried about everybody else doing their job." And there were just so many breakdowns of lack of getting to the second level or chasing the second level and not blocking the first level up front. Their run game was atrocious. It was embarrassing. And a lot of it was due to just lack of communication and lack of execution. And those things, to me, like, what are you doing? You're in the AFC Championship with a backup quarterback. Those are the things that have to be executed well, and they just flat weren't all day long. And then I get to the fourth down and 1 situation from your own 14-yard line in the second quarter. The Patriots at that point have had 12 yards. 12 plays and 12 yards of total offense. And, if you listen to my radio show in the morning, we had the weather guy on. You knew it was going to get blustery in the second half. Maybe you didn't listen. I can't believe you didn't listen. You knew it was going to get blustery. It was going to get snowy. If you go up 2 scores in the second quarter and your defense is playing the way they were playing and you've shut them down for 12 yards on 12 plays, you kick that field goal and it almost becomes insurmountable. And then you start thinking about how would that game plan have changed? All of a sudden, you're going to put Drake May in a situation where, hey, man, we're going to rush him. He's going to have to drop back. Now the strip sack fumble situations that have come up the last 2 weeks, 6 fumbles, 3 lost fumbles in their first 2 playoff games, maybe those things come up. Maybe you're the one that gets the turnover close to your own end zone. All those different things. I just thought, again, and this is endemic of the league in general, I thought it was a horrendous decision not to kick a field goal. And I'm back in Peyton Manning's suite with Peyton Manning, Brandon Stokely, myself, and Mike Shanahan. We were all 4 of us were like, kick the field goal, kick it, just kick it. And And but again, that's part of this league, and that's part of the trend of this league that I personally just have a really tough time with.
You and me both. And again, I know there's math, and I know there's probabilities, and I know there's percentages, and I understand you're saying a 2-score lead, 10 points would feel insurmountable. Well, then 14 would even be what's insurmountable plus.
Right.
But that's the 2 in the bush with the bird in the hand with a 31-yard field goal, and the other bird in the hand is, you're saying, the Doppler radar picture.
Right. Well, and the other thing is even though you had at that point 127 yards of offense, most of it was on one big throw over the top to Mims that was just a bust in coverage. Other than that, you really hadn't done much, and you had done nothing in the running game. So all of a sudden, like if I'm sitting there as a defense, and these are the things I think you have to think about, and it's hard to think about them in the moment. If you're sitting there saying, hey, man, we haven't run it for 2 inches. All right. So the defense really isn't going to respect that. And then on that particular play, man, you completely misblocked it. They shifted down inside to make it almost a 6-1 front, and you didn't know who to block. And so you turn not one, but 2 guys free in the face of Jarrett Stidham. And that play was doomed from the start. And there were guys that were going to be open had it been blocked up, but you just didn't get it done. So you had made mistakes. You hadn't run the ball. The New England Patriots are probably playing the pass in that situation. Like all those factors are stacked up against you, and still you went for it. And I get it. I mean, you got to make a gamble. You got to try to make a play every now and again. But I think eventually, it cost you the game.
And my follow up to all this, Mark Schlereth, is a bit of a page turn in our conversation here. Where you're saying you watch the film, you see a lot of missed blocking assignments, inability to get to the second level by the Broncos blocking scheme. But you also did say in that crucial 4th and 1, I watched it too. I watched New England pre-snap go ahead and make some movement with their defensive line to pack it in tight in the middle, and they got free runners. So shouldn't we tip our cap a little bit to a Patriots defense that is now going to have their hands full with Seattle in Super Bowl 60? Mark?
Absolutely. I thought the Patriots, like all things considered, I thought they didn't panic. They knew what kind of game it was. And, when you look at the way they controlled the tempo of that game and the lack of panic, when they went down 7-0, they're still trying to run the ball. You look at Stevenson still had, I think, 25 carries. He was averaging maybe 3 yards a carry. There was nothing there in the running game that said, hey, man, let's keep pounding this. And yet they kept doing it because they knew in the end our defense is really good, and we're playing against a backup quarterback and a team that doesn't run the ball well. And we're just going to bide our time and let them make the mistakes. And it goes back to the Bill Belichick thing. He used to say it all the time, and I agree with him, is more games are lost than won. And that game, to me, and you tip your cap to New England because they did a great job, but that was more lost by the Broncos than necessarily won by the Patriots.
Mark Schlereth here on the Rich Eisen Show. You can listen to him there in the Denver area with the accurate AccuWeather forecast, as well as the Stinkin Truth podcast here on the Rich Eisen Show. So your view of the NFC Championship game, looking back on it, is what now, Mark?
Yeah, I just thought it's amazing. Like, we've talked about the Sam Darnold story, all that Sam Darnold has been through. But if you would have said, here's your bingo card, and one of the squares was Sam Darnold would outduel Matthew Stafford, I'd been like, you're crazy. Like, you're just absolutely crazy. Sam Darnold, both quarterbacks were exceptional. But Sam Darnold's pocket presence, his ability to climb the pocket, deliver a strike, Smith-Njigba was absolutely unbelievable, uncoverable on the top of his route. And this is one of the things, and I know you do a great job covering the combine, but we always get so enamored and so excited about guys that run 4.3 40s. And Smith-Njigba, I think, was a 4.52 40 at the combine. And that dude creates more space at the top of his route. He is uncoverable. And when they throw him a little bubble screen, you can't tackle him. The first guy doesn't bring him down, doesn't even touch him. He was absolutely phenomenal. And I tell you, you got to tip your cap to the Seahawks general manager, John Schneider. what they're doing offensively under Clint Kubiak. They just were exceptional in that game. But Sam was unbelievable. Hit two deep shots, one to Shaheed down the sideline, and then another one that was a post corner deep one to Smith-Njigba that was just a dime piece as well. So got to tip your cap to the Seattle Seahawks, what they did. And Sam Darnold, this story, to me, it's a remarkable story, basically tossed to the curb by three different franchises to find his home in Seattle. It's just a great run.
You could make a case the best throw, if not most important throw, was the third down throw to Cooper Kupp to get that first down that really put the Rams behind an 8-ball with the amount of time remaining and their timeouts remaining. It was a great catch by Kupp. He did reach for the first down. There is a conversation about should they have challenged it or not, but that throw to Kupp and obviously the catch is something that leaps out at me too. Like, you want to talk about a pressure situation. If he throws that where maybe it tips up in the air, you know, he throws that a little bit off. He throws that in a spot, and we're talking about same old Sam Darnold, despite him being incredible. And it was just on point like the rest of his night, man.
Yeah, it was absolutely money. Although 12-year-old Mark Schlereth playing Nerf football in Anchorage, Alaska would have said that's not a catch. But I don't know anymore what a catch is. I get it. You get 2 feet down, and then you make a football move, and your ground can't cause a fumble and all this stuff. But I'll tell you what, over the last couple of weeks, man, there's so much controversy about what is and what isn't a catch. And maybe I just don't know what a catch is. I do these games every weekend. That's why we have one of them rules analysts. But there are some times where I just look at this real speed stuff and I'm like, I don't know how we differentiate.
Well, I think if you just want to linger here for a second, what it looked like was 2 feet down, and you don't need a third foot. I know we keep hearing that all the time, and Walt Anderson comes on NFL Network, NFL Total Access every Sunday, and we're appreciative of all that. He constantly talks about the third foot, but there is something called a football act, and I kind of think him being brought down to the ground and reaching for the first down before he was down was, in the estimation, real-time call of the official, a football act similar to the way that Des Bryant reached for the end zone back in the day. You know what I mean? I hear you, and it's amazing how it kept coming up from obviously Bills versus Broncos, and then later on that night, Davante Adams over the middle with the Bears, who thought they had an interception. Instead of, he was ruled still a runner now down by contact as opposed to a receiver going down to the ground. It's amazing how that kept on cropping up. It might happen in the Super Bowl too, Mark.
You never know. And I listen, man, they've got a tough job and they get most of them right. It's the ones they get wrong that bother me. So
I got you. I hear you.
But yeah, that's it. The whole catch thing is just, it always is one of those things that creates controversy. It depends on your perspective, but I probably agree with you going back and looking at it and rereading the rule and all that stuff that it was a catch. And back to your original point though, unbelievable, like throw, poise, ability to hit that ball across, on that shallow cross to get Cooper Kupp that first down. Amazing in that point of the game as well.
And what you said too, that Darnold out-dueling Stafford. I mean, they both had over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. And he did have a better passer rating of just 0.2. And they were both off the charts. Just knowing, having a front row seat, obviously Elway won 2 in a row and then strolled off, but just knowing what it's like to be a player in advancing years, what do you think is going through Stafford's mind right now? Because so many fans think it's as simple of why would he walk away, but there's more to it than that. So what do you think, Mark?
It's not Sundays. I mean, obviously what you saw, he was exceptional. And, I was surprised how much just straight man-to-man cover one lurk that Seattle played. They had, I think there's a couple of things. When you play a lot of cover one, you say a couple of things. One, we think our defensive line can get there, right? So we think that we can get there and affect the quarterback. 2, we're not really worried about the quarterback taking off and running. And so they played a lot of man-to-man coverage, and that was a Stafford, that was a Stafford game plan, and he picked it apart. His receivers at the top of their routes, both Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua were just absolutely outstanding. Tight ends as well, so they were great in that. But it's not Sundays, right? Sundays are the easy part. It's your willingness to prepare in March, April, May, June, July to get yourself ready. It's the grind that you put into it Monday through Saturday. It's a lot, man. It wears you down, and especially if you're constantly nursing. And I don't know how, I know the big conversation, the topic of conversation before the season was Matthew Stafford's back. But I just will tell you, as a guy that played his whole career injured, man, it wears you out when you're physically, it's not only the preparation mentally to get yourself ready to play and to make sure that you don't make mental mistakes and that you're perfect on your, execution and your assignments and the way you go about it. But then at the same time, you're fighting your own body. And so that's a full-time job, just getting healthy. I just remember my own career rolling in at 5 a.m. I'd be the first guy in the facility at 5 a.m. doing 2-3 hours of rehab before our first meeting, studying film, going through the whole day, and then coming back home, eating dinner and packing myself in ice and going to bed at 7. And that was my everyday routine for the last 5 years of my career. And it basically, it's just it's not only a physical grind, but more importantly, man, it just mentally wears you out.
Yeah, there's no way that the whole back thing that caused us to wonder if Stafford's going to take a snap all season long. The fact that he did what he did, it's not because whatever he did in August, he got through it and then did nothing the rest of the year to have to maintain it, right? There has to have been something significant that was going on.
Without question, you're spending so much time in the training room, so much time getting treatment. I'm sure there's, and I mean,
stuff that he wouldn't talk about, right? That no one would talk about. Ever. Ever.
I mean, you can drive to work and sneeze and it just goes, it just is. It is so frustrating. I've had multiple back surgeries. The back is the worst possible injury, way worse than knees and elbows and all the other things I went through. The back is the one that drove me. I mean, the back is the one that drove me to retirement more than anything else. I mean, it just is so hard to manage on a day-to-day basis.
All right, last one for you, Mark. Your first blush Super Bowl 60 preview, top down, is what?
Man, I think the Seahawks are just an all-around better football team. Defensively, if you went, kind of a position by position, confidence poll, if you will, I think their O-line is much better. I think their receiving core and the tight ends are better with Seattle. I think the running backs are close to a push, although I probably would give the nod to Kenneth Walker in that regard. I'd give right now, the way they're both playing, both quarterbacks, maybe that's a push. Defensively, I just think the Seattle Seahawks are really, really good, especially linebacking core and back end. So I think it's a good matchup. I don't think there's any question. I just think Seattle's playing better than any other team in football right now.
All right, we'll put a pin in that and then have you on next week, Mark. We'll pull the pin and get even deeper. Thanks for the time. Right. I really appreciate it. You're the best, Mark. Thank you. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.